Today's episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast is brought to you by Poor Richard's Cafe and Star Local Media. Poor Richard's Cafe, Plano's oldest restaurant since 1973. They are open daily from 5:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., serving the three most important meals of the day: breakfast, lunch, and dessert. It is true Texas home-style cooking made with love and grit. That is Poor Richard's Cafe, located off of Avenue K in Plano. Welcome to another episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. My name is Matt Welch. I'm the sports editor at Star Local Media, and I am being joined by Kendrick Johnson and Brian Murphy. Let's see, guys. We are 2 rounds down in the softball playoffs, 1 round down in the baseball playoffs, and I think we all kind of made it out of last week relatively unscathed as far as the weather went. So, some good news there. It seems like the Metroplexes in general got really lucky with all of the doom and gloom for all of the prospected inclement weather last week. So, nevertheless, everything went off without a hitch for the most part. So, let's just kind of survey the landscape of the baseball and softball playoffs and see who's still kicking and who we laid to rest over the weekend, including I guess we're done in 6A. All of our 6A softball teams are out now. We've still got 6 teams left between 5A and 4A. So, let's start there. Let's start with the happy part of the softball portion of the podcast. We'll talk baseball a little bit later on, but for now, let's guys, you guys got a game coming up between a couple of your schools. You got McKinney North and Frisco Independence bound for the third round of the postseason. That series begins Thursday out at Prosper. Best of 3 series. So I don't know, guys. Let's.
This guy here needs to apologize to y'all. He's been hyping up the 9-6A district. 9-5A. Disrespecting the 10-5A district. But look at these head-to-head wins. What are we going to do about these co-L's that y'all take?
So many flukes. And I apologize for nothing. And I have no doubt in my mind that Independence isn't going to bring out the brooms this week and send North packing. North hasn't faced a team in the playoffs just yet like Independence. I mean, they took on Lone Star in the first round. Lone Star, had to win a lot of.
I thought they could have been the best. According to you, before the game, they were the hottest team in the area.
They were the hottest.
And they could be the best team in Frisco.
I'm just going to sit back.
I never said Lone Star was the best team in Frisco. I said they were the hottest team in Frisco. They won 5 games in a row to make the playoffs. If they lost one of them
in that winning streak,
Centennial and Reedy, and Reedy's still in it. Reedy might be the hottest team right now.
He named 3 schools. There's 5, right?
Beat Heritage, and then a couple other teams that were at the bottom.
I mean, they beat playoff teams, so it wasn't like
they beat a couple playoff teams, and then they beat a couple teams on the bottom.
Did they beat Independence though?
No, they didn't face Independence in that final stretch.
So what we're gonna do about this? Shout out to Reagan Clepley, pitcher for McKinney North. She's on a 18-inning shutout streak. When you come up clutch in the playoffs like that, like North is not just beating people 10-0 for no reason. They ain't scoring no runs.
Who'd they play in the second round?
They play Highland Park. They've been in the playoffs like 12, 13 years in a row.
I mean, hey, 18 shutout innings straight, that's no joke for sure.
We're in the playoffs.
Now, where's that going to be when you're facing Savannah Williams, Macy Allen, potential, MVP candidates of the district,
they can get the slugfest. Ask Lone Star about that. They hit 5.
Well, Lone Star doesn't have the firepower that Independence has. They had that Morgan Reeve, but that's they don't have.
Looking at the games, they also have in this hot stretch, they've gotten 10 hits or more in the last 5 of the last 4 games. I mean, 4 of the last 5 games.
Hey, Independence has proven that they can win the close game. They won 2 close games against Wiley East in the first round, and then they faced Woodrow Wilson. They did what they should have done. They won 15-0 run rule, wiped them out. Savannah Williams was untouchable in that series. And then they look good against Lovejoy in the first round too.
I don't know if Matt agrees to this, subscribes to this theory, but when you play in series, familiarity is very key, either with the team or the facilities. They played all their games at Prosper. They're very comfortable.
Oh, okay. You're whipping out all the stops, huh?
I'm just looking at what the numbers say.
So McKinney North played all their games at Prosper in the playoffs, and that's where they'll be at again this week.
They win them coin flips.
I wonder if that's by design. If they're
I don't know. Easy. I'm just doing.
Prosper's hosting a lot of softball games. They're also hosting the Reedy Denison series also this weekend. So they're kind of alternating days and times and stuff.
Prosper Diamond might be a bit of a good luck charm for the Lady Bulldogs. Is what might be suggesting.
It is just nothing more than a nice turf field. It's cool.
It's a good hitter's park when I'm there.
Sure,
that ball be flying. I don't know if y'all seen any games there.
No, I have not had a chance to cover a game out there.
But what we're going to do about that offense is getting 10 hits a game. So you know
Savvy Williams,
at least 5 to 6 runs.
Savvy Williams is one of the best pitchers in that district. One of the best pitchers in the area, man. She can throw the heat, man. I think she can tame down the.
Did they win their district?
They sure did.
They go undefeated?
No, because they play 18 games. If you win all 18 of your district games, you're going to state.
So we got McKinney North and Frisco Independence. Obviously, should be a fun
battle of the district
series.
champions.
We're in the third round right now, so that's when you get a lot of.
It's kind of crazy that the district champs play, and then the 2 teams that finish third play.
Yeah, it's crazy how the seedings go.
How the brackets go.
And that's the Reedy Denison series you're referring to?
Yes.
We can talk a little bit about that, Brian, with Frisco
I haven't
Reedy.
seen Denison play, but I heard they're a very scrappy team that has a lot of speed when they get on the base pads.
Man, Denison, they took out Centennial in 2 games in the first round. I know we've talked about that a lot, especially on this podcast too. That was a shocker. And then they come in, and I don't remember who they played in the second round. I think it was one of the Dallas schools, and they just took care of business in the second round. Now here they are, facing Reedy. Reedy faced state-ranked Creekview. Creekview was highly touted coming into the playoffs. They only lost 3 games, but their strength of schedule wasn't the best, and it finally showed.
Fair point.
Reedy took care of business. They won 10-1, and then they won 11-0.
Wow.
So Reedy might be the hottest team right now in that Frisco day. It's alternating. It's one week it's Lone Star, next week it's Reedy.
I'd like to think if you're in the third round of the playoffs,
you're hot.
You're probably hot in some
hot,
form or fashion if you're still playing at this juncture.
I got you one step better than that. North counting the playoffs has won 16 of the last 17 games.
It's pretty impressive. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
No, I can't argue with that.
How about Little Elm? Where you at on Little Elm right now?
Man, Little Elm, man.
They take on Azel.
How good is that team? Are they well-rounded? I know they got an ace.
Oh, man. They have an MVP candidate and an ace in Lauren Lucas. Get this. Their freshman cleanup hitter, catcher, Georgia Heathcock, blasts a grand slam in game 2, kind of decided the game. That was early too, and they won that game 6-4. That put them up 4-0 early against Mansfield Legacy. They sweep Legacy. They're on to face Azel. Man, this team is firing on all cylinders. Izzy Fielder had a home run. Lauren Lucas is doing her thing. This lineup from top to bottom is balling right now. And I saw a fun fact. Last time Little Elm was in the third round, I think Brian Gossett tweeted this out. He's awesome on Twitter, by the way. He tweeted something out. Lauren Lucas's older sister she was the ace of Little Elm the last time, I believe it was in 2014 or 2015.
Yeah, 2014.
2014, the last time they made it to the third round. And then now Lauren, and she was a junior at the time, and now Lauren's a junior, she's the ace, and they're back in the third round.
Time is a flat circle.
Life is weird.
It's going to be interesting if they match up against the Colony, see if they can finally get without the Colony Hump and Jada Coleman and Company.
See, that would be a regional tournament showdown. I'm kind of scared for that one, but they gave the Colony some good showdowns. They didn't just lay down and die like they had in years past and like other teams have to the Colony. But we'll see. They got to get past Azel first.
Yeah, it seems like the Colony and Forney have this mystique about them but there's the last 2 national state titles, so
for sure
you got to give them their respect. I think Independence or North, whoever comes out will end up playing Forney in the next round. It's going to give them a run for their money because both teams are offensive loaded, and that's how you got to beat Forney. Because they played. They
got quite a pitcher though over at Forney.
Texarkana got to her and they beat
Savannah
DeRoche.
They beat her in the game. So would you take your game as a one gamer if you're Independence or North?
If you're the underdog.
You know what? I don't know, because I saw Little Elm in the second round faced Forney 2 years ago when Lauren was a freshman, and then Savannah, is that her first name from Forney?
Yeah.
She was a freshman, and man, she was already throwing that heat as a freshman. But Little Elm took them to 3 games. They stole game 2. And then they played right after, and then Forney barely won. Granted, this was a year before they won the state title, so they weren't,
A lot's changed since then.
Exactly. But, what I'm saying is that Savannah pitcher was already lights out as a freshman.
Oh, yeah.
I want no part of her right now in a playoff series, but, your best bet to beat a team like that is a 1-game series. So you just got to roll your dice. Anything can happen in that game, but That's a tough draw right there for anyone.
If Little Elm wins this upcoming series, it'll officially be the deepest playoff run in program history.
That's right.
2 other times that they made it 3 rounds deep, 2014 and 2010. We mentioned the Colony, a program that's no stranger to still playing at this juncture of the postseason. However, it was last year where round 2 was where they got tripped up by the aforementioned Forney team that went on to win state. So the Colony getting a chance to get itself back in the 3rd round, a chance to make amends for last year, and they leave no doubt. They beat the brakes off Granbury in a sweep, 2-game sweep. They win by scores of 8-1 and 6-2. This was, coming into this with, this was the stumbling block last year. Obviously, Granbury is not exactly Forney on paper, but if there's anything to kind of calm the nerves from the get-go, Jada Coleman leads off game 1 with a home run, and that's kind of just a harbinger of things to come from that
That's what
series.
Players of that caliber do, man.
Yes.
She's phenomenal.
Batting over 700. I just glanced at her stats. Batting over 700.
Again.
Got
Another
10
year.
bombs and has stolen 50 bases.
Yep.
I don't know one player that's done that.
Arguably the top player in the country for a reason there. And she came a home run shy of hitting for the cycle in game 2. So just Jada Coleman doing Jada Coleman things. You had J.C. Hamlin, though, who, how about this for a series?
She's a D1 or 2.
I do not know. Justin Thomas would have that information for you, though.
Half that lineup is all D1.
Yeah.
Man, that's insane.
That's what my point is. If you see them play, like Jada is the star piece, but
They have players around
legit. They be some stars on other teams.
Texas Tech. We're getting word from JT. I think Texas Tech.
through the headset, Justin Thomas chiming in.
Through the earpiece.
J.C. Hamlin bound for Texas Tech. Now, she had a heck of a series, though. She went 6 for 6, scored 6 runs, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, just about a perfect offensive series in some ways. J.C. Hamlin was just lights out. And then you had Carly Charles. This is like some Kinsey Cackley level production. She had 28 strikeouts in 2 games.
Who's going to beat
against
them?
Granbury?
It's going to take a Forney to beat them.
In Region 1, they're the on-paper favorite, you have to think, at least just given their just the pedigree and the experience that core has. And granted, they're not even at full strength yet, just with Madison Hurst still being out. But nevertheless, you would say they are the on-paper favorite, at least in Region 1. Who knows what happens when you get to state. But, Carly Charles just carving up Granbury. Had 28 strikeouts total, 14 in each game. Let's see, before we can quickly shift gears, Brian, we can talk Salina.
Yeah.
Salina's still kicking. We don't get a chance to talk much Salina softball on this, and they're bound for the 3rd round. They get we talked about the anything can happen hijinks of the 1-game playoff, and that is what the Lady Bobcats are up against. They draw Anna in a 1-game series, 7 o'clock Friday out at McKinney Boyd. This required them taking down getting a little bit of revenge last week, if I recall.
That's right. So they're coming off of a 1-game series last week against Crandall, a team that knocked them out. So they beat Crandall once in a 3-game series. And then I believe they got shut out the last 2 games. They won game 1 and then lost 4 and then 6-0. But they didn't have their starting ace, Randy Dobbins, last year. She was suspended for the playoffs for off-the-field stuff. And then so Michaela Galloway, she was a sophomore. She was just thrown into the fire. She did a good job, the first game, and then they just didn't have enough, take down that Crandall team from last year. They had an ace that really shut down that Salina offense. This year, they still have some heavy hitters in that lineup. The Miller sisters down there in Crandall batting 2 and 3. Only 1 hit in 8 at-bats between those two. That was huge. They held Crandall to just 3 runs. And then when I was doing some research before this matchup, the last time they were held below 10 runs, that was February 13th. Either way, it was in February. That's absurd. And Michaela Galloway held them to just 3 runs. She also drives in a pair of runs, kind of doing it both for this team as the team's leadoff hitter. They beat Crandall. The last play of that game was pretty crazy because there was 2 on for Crandall in the top of the 7th, and their 4-hole hitter hits a screaming line drive to shortstop. There's 2 outs. Shortstop Alexis Ginnigaw drops it. And it's pandemonium because then that could have loaded the bases right there. The heart of the order is up, for Crandall. All they needed was, just a big hit and this thing could be tied. And she dives for the ball that she just dropped, she actually doesn't flick it. She was able to get close enough to the bag and tag the bag after she drops the ball to end the game. The entire Salina dugout runs out. Coach Carla Bartlett, you see her in my video in our highlight package. She comes up, she gives the biggest hug. She's jumping up and down. Everyone's going nuts. They really wanted to beat Crandall badly. And now they're facing a district foe in Anna. third round,
right, yeah.
1-game playoff, and they beat Anna twice this year, both games by 1 run.
It's probably Anna that was lobbying for that one game, or not Solana.
Yeah. So, and that's a McKinney Boyd. Coach Bartlett loves McKinney Boyd's softball field. She loves it, and so she's been talking about it all week, and she got the field, and so we'll see if Salina can get it done and head to the regional tournament.
Meanwhile, we had to bid adieu to a number of teams over the weekend.
Cue the sad music.
Yeah, we don't have any sad piano music to put in right now because, I mean, we spent all season long talking up District 9-6A, and wouldn't you know, they're all out by the second round. This was we closed the book. Yeah, Plano ISD is just done for as far as stick and ball sports go. Baseball, softball, they are done. So we had Plano West and Plano play the final games of their 2019 seasons over the weekend. Plano West, which they were the undefeated district champions out of 9-6A, one of the very best teams in the state. But we did caution that Region 2 6A is no joke. There's a lot of heavyweights in this district, in this region, once you get past that first round. And even though it wasn't a program that was state ranked, and kind of in the same conversation as the Wileys and the some of those Houston area schools and whatnot, Waco Midway is a program that is certainly very, very credentialed. They've been a thorn in Plano ISD side in the past. I remember Plano had their season ended by them a few years ago. This is now the 13th time in 15 years that Midway has advanced to the third round. So that tells you all you need to know about just what they can bring to the table.
Legit.
And sure enough, this was a low-scoring series too. There were a combined 12 runs scored in 3 games between Midway and Plano West, and ultimately Midway is able to squeak out a pair of 3-2 victories in games 2 and 3 to overcome a 2-0 victory by Plano West in game 1.
So that Plano West should have that one gamer, which is good.
Yeah. This is and you kind of look at what this series boiled down to, and a lot of it just kind of comes back to defense. I mean, in a series where there's a combined 12 runs scored, the margins are very, very slim as far as what can be the difference between winning and losing. And you look at Plano West defense committing 3 errors in each of those final 2 games, all of which led to those runs that were scored by Midway. Tatum Boyd allowed 6 runs all series, and all of them were unearned. So
got you out the Kentucky Catholic treatment.
Yeah, so it was a case where and then they commit 3 errors in the first inning of game 3, and Midway's immediately up 3-0 in a game that Midway only had 2 hits in. They only had 2 hits in game 3, so it was literally just those defensive slip-ups in the first inning.
You think if they play this game, in non-district at the beginning of the year, it goes a little differently? Maybe nerves had to play with all the errors and stuff. Is that pretty uncharacteristic?
It's tough because
Plano West
with the Plano West team, they've been through they won District 9-6A. They did so in undefeated fashion, but there were a lot of close games during that stretch.
Okay.
They really did have to.
They had Tatum Boyd, no one else. That was a difference. Against McKinney Boyd, her and Kenzie had 28 to 30 strikeouts, but for some reason they pitched to her with the bases empty. She hit off the scoreboard because she can hit and she can pitch. So she dictates the terms, and she's the straw that stirs the drink, as they say, old school.
Yeah, and they just could not get it going against Midway's. Midway is one of the few teams that uses 2 pitchers, that is 2 starting caliber pitchers, and they deployed both of them this series. It was the second of the 2 pitchers, Jasmine Gendorf, not entirely sure how that last name is pronounced, but they could not figure her out in games 2 and 3. She holds West to just 4 runs total. In game 3, the top 4 of Plano West's batting order, your Lisa Rosado, Katie Kim, Tatum Boyd, Morgan Luster. They've just that top 4 has been. That is arguably the best top 4 in 9-6A, maybe with the exception of maybe Prosper or whatnot. They go a combined 0 of 13 in game 3. So it's just tough to win when you're just when that portion of the order.
That's Cole L.
That is us. Yeah,
the Frisco school.
A hard luck end to what was
too soon, man.
a hard luck end to what was, what had the makings of a really, really great year for Plano West. Still a great year by all respects. You go undefeated in that district, but that's the strength of Region 2 right there. And it's so Plano West is out, and then Plano also played another game 3, and this one was there was not a whole lot of drama in this one because after they took game 1 against Rockwall 10-4, and then game 2, that was where the chances were there. They left 12 runners on base though, and just they had no trouble getting hits against Rockwall in game 2, but just could not get the one to scratch the runs across when they had to, and they lose that one 5-3. And then it kind of like, it almost mirrored the Plano-Saxe series from round one, where Saxe, squeaks out game one, Plano returns fire in a relatively competitive game two, and then Plano just blows them up in game three. And that's what happened. Plano was on the receiving end of that.
One game is, man, you gotta take your chances if you got that team.
With Rockwall in game three, Rockwall, I mean, their offense that's head coach Justin Pipak said afterwards, that's as good an offense as he's seen his team play. And that speaks volumes considering some of the offenses in 9-6A like Prosper, like Plano West. Rockwall leads off the game with a Reagan Swindle home run, and Megan Hampton doubles to the warning track on the second at bat, and that just kind of it was just a downward spiral from there for Plano West. They could not slow down that Rockwall offense, and both offenses were really effective prior to that, but it was just a case of like Plano had all the confidence in the world that they would still be able to keep hitting. They were averaging, I want to say, close to 10 hits through those first two games of the series. They were held to just 4 though, and that's the thing. It was Plano's offense has been a little Jekyll and Hyde this season. It looked like they were starting to turn a corner with what happened in the Saxe series, and again they were. Like I said, they were getting hits in those first 2 games against Rockwall, but just couldn't. And they only struck out twice. I think it was in that game 3. So it's not like they weren't putting balls into play. They just couldn't find the gap. Everything was right to the defense, and just ran into some really, really bad luck as far as just timely offense goes. I think to this stretch where bridging games 2 and 3. So you take the last 3 innings of game 2 and the first 3 innings of game 3. Across those 6 innings. 5 times did Plano put its first 2 runners on base.
And they didn't score no run?
And they scored 1 run total across those 6 innings. So
that's how you said it with us.
That's just you should think that the law of averages would balance out at some point there. The other shoe might drop, and just some hard luck and just with runners in scoring position for Plano. And yes, and their season ends in the second round, and then Prosper took one on the chin against Belton. All 3 of these series went 3 games, so they all went the distance. But it looked like what...
Not 6-8 won game 1s?
I think they did, actually. Did
Prosper won game 2.
Okay, so Plano and Plano West won game 1 of their series.
Prosper series, all 3 games were different. Mm-hmm. Belton blows them out in game 1, 13-6. Belton uses 3 different pitchers. Prosper uses, Marina Carnes and Alyssa Griffin, what they've been doing, all year, kind of using both pitchers in different times throughout the game. And then game 2, Prosper wins a close one, 3-2. They barely hang on to win. And then game 3, Prosper bats couldn't do anything. They lose 4-0 to Belton. And Taylor Tubbs, I'm looking at this on Game Changer and stuff, and Taylor Tubbs, she pitched 2 innings in game 1, 2 innings in game 2. Game 3, pitches a complete game shutout and struck out 9 batters, allowed 4 hits. So I guess
that's tough to do against Prosper.
Yeah, and so she was the difference in that game. Prosper not able to figure things out. As Tubbs, like I said, Belton was using multiple pitchers in games 1 and 2, and then she comes in and then just has an ace-like performance. And Prosper didn't really have an ace-like performance by any one of their pitchers this weekend. So maybe that was the difference right there. Taylor Tubbs of Belton, shout out to her, getting the job done in that big game 3.
Prosper's still a team, though, that's pretty well positioned, though, going forward.
Sure.
Just recall that being a pretty young team. And ditto for Plano. Plano's they only lose 1 starter, the catcher, Zoe White. So they should be back once again next year. Just to be a question of what happens if the offense develops a bit of a more consistent identity for this Plano team.
We gotta get some go fishing gear.
A hard luck end of the season for District 9-6A, and but obviously still plenty more on the baseball side of things to discuss. We'll shift gears, talk a little bit of baseball, do a quick line change, and recap the first round in the 6A side of the baseball bracket in just a moment. And let's keep talking the stick and ball playoff sports. Let's see, we're going to talk some 6A baseball now. Switch gears over to baseball for the remainder of the podcast. We'll talk 6A here, 5A in a little bit. For this portion of the podcast, we got Justin Thomas and Devin Hassan over at the round table. And let's start with the by-district slate between districts 9-6A and 10-6A, Devin, because it was you got to see one of these ones that went the distance, Saxe and Jesuit, which there's an expectation that it might, given the caliber of both of these programs. Ultimately, Ultimately, though, just a difficult end to the year for District 10 6A as they get swept. And at least in the very case with Saxe and what they were able to do against Jesuit, promising start to the series, but just kind of talk a bit about what was your read on this series as it progressed?
Two evenly matched teams. We said that last week coming in. Even though Jesuit was a 4 seed, they could have finished second very easily in that district, just with the overall quality of the team that they have. Saxe got off to a great start on Thursday night. Chase Alford, who's been dominant on the mound all year long, was that way. 6 innings pitched. He gave up a leadoff home run in the 6th, but that was pretty much it. Saxe was able to string together a nice rally in the 5th inning with 3 runs. So they take the opener 3-1. They come back in game 2, and this is where the series is really determined. Jesuit rolls Jack Lynch out there, who's their ace, who's been their star all year long. Saxe gets to him twice in the first inning for 2 runs, which was huge to get.
You think in that case that might be a bit of a.
And they have Blaine Chapman, their second starter. I mean, they basically had co-aces. They each had ERAs under 1 for the season. 5 innings. He's strong. Jesuit starts to put together their first rally, really, of the series. They're in the 6th. They're able to tie it up at 2, and this is when Saxe head coach Chris Burrow kind of rolled the dice. He brought in David Gonzalez, last year's district pitcher of the year, who'd been coming in really in relief for the most part this year, but he'd been kind of working up to starters, regain that starters mode, and he was going to be their game 3 starter most likely. But they put him in as he'd been doing he came in game 1 to close that one out as well. But the game didn't end after 7 innings. They kept going and going and going. They get to the 11th inning, and Jesuit kind of has one of those breakout innings that you see sometimes when it gets that deep in the game. All of a sudden, a team just explodes. They score 4 runs in the 11th inning and win 6-2. So the series is even. Unfortunately, now you've not only gone through your 2 aces, your 2 rotation guys during the course of the year, but David Gonzalez went 5 2/3 innings through 86 pitches on top of pitching on Thursday. So he's out of the equation, and so that's what game 3 really came down to. It was, Saxe was going to have to do it with they had 3 or 4 guys that they probably were going to use an inning or 2 each, and unfortunately for them, in the first inning, Jesuit jumped on their starter. They're up 6-0, and that's really game. I mean, Jesuit themselves had to dig deep in their bullpen. They started a kid named Gavin Perryman, who did a great job. But when you're
pretty good basketball player too.
Yeah, he is. But when you're up to 6-0 lead, all he had to do was throw strikes, and he got up there and did it. He threw nothing but fastballs basically. And Saxe, you could see it kind of in their body language when you drop down. They scored 5 runs total in basically 18 innings, and now they need 6 just to tie. And they started pressing. They did a lot of first ball hitting, and it got out of hand in the first inning. It never was a game. Jesuit ends up closing it out 10-0. That game ended after the run rule in 5. But it's interesting to see what would have happened if they would have had David Gonzalez for that game 3 going out there. But at the same time, you just got to tip your hat to Jesuit. They were able to get to Saxe enough in those first 2 games, and then obviously they took advantage in the 3rd.
So that was hands down the most dramatic of the 4 series between these 2 districts. Although I guess was Rowlett and Boyd, at least they had a little bit of it was a sweep, but it was a competitive sweep.
Yeah, and Rowlett, the first game they were supposed to start on Wednesday, got pushed back to Thursday, didn't have a huge factor on the series, but it was one swing of the bat. I believe it's Chad Brown's at the McKinney Boyd ace. They went head to head, but he in the 2nd inning hit a 3-run home run, and that was all the scoring. I mean, neither team was able to generate much offense outside of that. It's 3-0. Rowlett loads the bases with 1 out in the 7th, and one of those where you line a shot to the first baseman, and he catches it, and by the time the runner at first has a chance to react, he doubles him off, and the game's over. Well, game 2, McKinney Boyd's up 6-2 going to the 7th. Rowlett scores 3. Get to 6-5. Guess what happens? Same exact thing.
Wow.
Line out, double play to end it. So, it was a sweep, but it was 2 very close games. Again, 1 swing of the bat in the first game, and then, a rally that falls just 1 run short in the 2nd. So, a series that could have gone either way, but obviously McKinney Boyd just made an extra couple plays to get the job done.
There were some early makings of a potential, so Allen and Garland, they, so was it, or actually Naaman Forest, I should say, sorry. Naaman Forest jumped out to a 4-0 lead beat on Allen in game one. Allen's defense was a little bit slow to wake up and get into playoff gear. I mean, yeah, they're down 4-0 just like that. Then the rest of the series was all Allen, though. They ended up rallying and winning that game one 10-5, and then follow that up with a 13-0 victory in game two. The first, just the second time all season they've scored double-digit runs in back-to-back games. So, for an Allen team that made a bit of a late lineup change, into these regarding the top, 4 or 5 of the batting order, some continued positive returns for that, for that lineup change. And then you had, guys like Cole Latos, who had 2 home runs in that series. And then I think the biggest, revelation from that series, though, is the emergence late in the year of Nate Wadka, who is, they're just looking for, just finding out who was going to be that guy to complement Brett Tanksley, and on the mound. And then Nate Wadka, he shuts out Plano West, in his in the second to last game of the regular season, and then in game two he gets the nod against Neiman Forest, throws 5 scoreless innings along with 9 strikeouts, just 3 hits allowed. So it's a welcome sign for Allen to just get that kind of production, because with Tanksley, he's been such a rock all year, but he has started kind of getting touched up a little bit over these last few games. He pitched to start the series in game one. I believe he only went 2 innings maybe. So nevertheless, though, at least to kind of balance that out, Nate Wadka has really stepped up, and Allen made a relatively short work out of Neiman Forest despite the difficult start. I want to say they committed 3 errors in the first inning of the series. So pretty just a flawless series from that point on, though. But now things ramp up significantly in difficulty, and that's kind of was the lesson of the 6A softball playoffs in Region 2. The uptick in difficulty from first round to second round is going to be pretty significant, because Waco Midway is nothing to be trifled with. One of several state-ranked teams in Region 2, and that's who Allen draws.
They took care of Horn.
Yes.
I mean, that was, and I said last week, Horn, if they were going to pull the upset, they needed to win game one. Mm-hmm. That's when they're going to roll their ace out there, and that's when you try to, if they were able to steal that first one, then you start putting the pressure. Then the favorite starts feeling that pressure. But it's 7-1. It was a close game, for most of the evening. But then after that, Waco Midway, in game 2, 14-3. And yes, it's going to be, a big challenge for Allen, because Midway in all sports, as we've talked about all year long, is formidable, and certainly their baseball team their resume speaks for itself. A
15-game winning streak for Midway heading into the series with Allen. That series will be that is a Thursday-Friday, actually just a Thursday-Friday series. They're going to try to play games 2 and 3 if necessary on a Friday. That series will be out at Waxahachie, 7:30 Thursday for game 1, and then 5 o'clock on Friday for game 2. Game 3 follows if necessary. Justin, welcome back.
Hey.
On vacation last week, buddy. And all the while you had softball teams had a bit of a rough go, but nevertheless, baseball, though, you got 3 out of 4 onto the second round. Just talk a bit about Lewisville ISD making a nice impression there in the first round.
Yeah, as you said, 6A goes 3-1 against 5-6A. So I guess I'll start off with the one quote-unquote upset based on the seeds. That was number 3 Hebron taking down Keller in a 3-game series out at DBU. This
quality win.
Quality win. Looks like a pretty quality series. Hebron comes out, gets the first game 5-4. Blake Richardson gives up 4 runs in the first inning. Then he goes 5 2/3 the rest of the way, no runs. Almost finished it off. 1 out away, and then the reliever comes in and finished it off. Drake Boggin had a big 2-run double, and Trent McCown, who started the season on JV, with an RBI single to give him the lead. So Hebron takes the first one 5-4. Keller comes back on Friday, gets the second one 4-3. So we need a game 3 Saturday, and that one goes to Hebron 10-6. Again, a slow start. They fell down 4-1, give up 4 runs in the second, but then they come back. Looks like they got a real good game from the top of their order. Diego Johnson, Brayton Matthews, and Jackson Weber. Those 3 guys combined 8 for 12, 6 runs, and 8 RBIs. So the top of the order really got it done. And then pretty cool story, getting the win in relief was Nick Wilson. This is a kid that was cut as a freshman. He was the JV manager as a sophomore. He was used sparingly as a JV pitcher as a junior, and here he is as a senior getting the win in game 3 of the first round. So pretty cool little
nice little story right there, for sure.
Story, yeah, and you'll hear from him a little bit later. But yeah, so big win for Hebron. They're going to move on to face Mansfield. 3-game series. Starts Thursday, Friday, Saturday out at Irving MacArthur, with game 3 actually at Irving High School if they need it. the losing team, the other lower seeded team, was Coppell. They faced reigning state champ Carroll.
Which, man, that just seemed like when I mentioned last week, when I saw that was the first round matchup, I couldn't believe that was how the bracket shook out. Where, somehow Coppell, if you're Coppell's your 4 seed, what a district.
Yeah, and so they facing the reigning state champs, and tough. Looks like they maybe couldn't recover from game 1 where they lose in 10 or 11 innings. So they gave up 2 in the 6th to tie it up. End up falling in the 11th, and it looks like they really couldn't recover in the second game. They fall 10-5 in that one. So
a rare first round exit for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think first time since 2013, and expectations are always very high there. So tough to draw Southlake in the first round, and looks like they hung in there pretty well, but just couldn't get it done against the reigning state champs. But we had 2 other teams that got wins. Marcus and Flower Mound both move on. We'll start with Flower Mound. They had a little easier time than the Marauders did. They swept Denton Geyer. They cruised in the first game 12-3, and then they won the second game 5-3. Big series for Cole Antonelli. He had the go-ahead RBI in game 2, and then in game 1 he went 2 for 3 with the triple, 2 runs, and 3 RBIs. So good series for Antonelli. Cam Brown, 6 innings for the win in game 1. Then Texas signee Austin Wallace, 6 innings for the game 2 win. So not a big surprise there, and Flower Mound will move on to face Mansfield Lake Ridge. Game 1's going to be actually at Globe Life Park on Thursday. So
we got a few series that are at Globe Life.
Jack fans can enjoy that. They seem to really like to go out to that Arlington, Grand Prairie area for their early baseball series. But then games 2 and 3 will be Friday and Saturday at Grapevine. And that leaves the Marauders. They got by Byron Nelson 2-1. Looks like a really good series. They lost the first game 2-1, and then they come back with 2 consecutive 7-6 wins. Wow. And game 3, Tyler Schott has a big RBI triple in the 6th, and then Brett Hedges with a sac fly for the go-ahead run. Hunter Toplansky had a good game there. He scored 3 runs as 2. And then in game 2, they went up 6-0, blow the 6-0 lead, come back, and in the 8th inning, they get a bases-loaded walk from Sam Hunt to win the game. So sure, Byron Nelson was a little kicking themselves there, getting loading the bases with nobody out and then walking in the winning run. But good pitching performance, Tyler Morgan, and it looks like Markins was able to work around some miscues there because Tyler Morgan gave up 7 runs and none of them were earned. So good win for Marcus, though. Moving on again, they were in the regional finals last year against Southlake, so they'll take on Waxahachie at Irving MacArthur Friday, and then a doubleheader Saturday if they need it. Yeah,
Byron Nelson, much like Jesuit, not your typical 4 seed.
No, not at all. Yeah,
let's see.
Pretty good 5-6A, 6-6A grouping there. Those are some quality programs going home in the first round there.
So let's see, you mentioned Hebron bound for the second round, and that can be a nice transition to our student athlete spotlight. GT, you had a chance to swing by practice to talk with Diego Johnson and the aforementioned Nick Wilson on just Hebron's season to date and how they're feeling heading into the second round. And let's see what Diego and Nick had to say after a word from the sponsor. Today's podcast is brought to you by Star Local Media. 14 newspapers and websites with a print distribution of 270,000 homes and monthly page views of 600,000 online. Star Local Media, your community voice for news. And now, let's get back to the podcast.
All right, we're here with Diego Johnson and Nick Wilson for Hebron Baseball. Guys, thanks for taking a few minutes to join us on the Star Local Media Sports Podcast today.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Couple seniors for the Hawks, and you guys are moving on to the second round of the playoffs now. So just talk about how you guys are feeling and where you guys are at right now, moving into the area around here.
Well, right now we're feeling good. We just need to keep swinging the bats and keeping the momentum up, and then we'll just be just fine. So
yeah, I feel like we really found our lineup. We're feeling really hot right now with the bats, and I feel like our pitching's really come through pretty well. So I think we're looking pretty good for the second round.
You guys had a couple good seasons and then came up a little short last year. What's it mean as seniors to be on this team and get back into the playoffs this year?
It means a lot. Last year falling short, it means a lot to just keep going this year and just hop on the bus and just keep going.
Well, yeah, it feels good to finally be back. And for a lot of us haven't been to the playoffs, and a lot of us weren't on that team that was our freshman year.
Yeah.
So it's a real good feeling.
Was there a point in the season where you guys felt like this is a team that had what it takes to get to the playoffs? Was there any game or series or in particular that really you guys felt like propelled you guys?
Really, right off the bat, right from the scrimmages, really, in the cold and fighting through the bad weather every day. That's where I really knew what we were.
And like after our first tournament, we ended up 2-4, and I feel like then after that we went on an 11-0 run, and I feel like that gave us a lot of confidence going into district. I felt like versus big wins against Marcus and Coppell, that really boosted up pretty high.
Yeah, it kind of took me to the next point. Just talk about going through that district. You know, Marcus, Flower Mound, Coppell, Lewisville, teams like that. Do you feel like that really got you guys prepared for the postseason here and getting started last week?
Most definitely. It's a tough district every year, you know, one of the biggest districts in Texas, so that's pretty good going against that competition.
And those are top teams, those are like top 15 teams in the state, and so that's really good for us, seeing that kind of competition and preparing us for what we're going to see forward, keep on moving on.
Keller was a team that was pretty hyped. Obviously had a good year last year and another strong season this year. What was the mindset of the team going into the series, and how do you feel like you guys executed this past weekend?
Really just to throw strikes and make the plays right behind the pitchers, and then we executed that, and then we got the results we wanted.
Yeah, a big thing for the pitchers was getting ahead in the count, because once you got ahead in the count, then you could really control it, and that was a big emphasis this weekend. And then just being smart at the plate and just watching pitches right.
You guys go through the whole season, and then you split the first 2 games. What's it like going into a third game on Saturday there, first series of the season? What's kind of the mentality? How are you guys approaching things, facing a winner-take-all game like that?
Pretty tough, but we went in there with a strong mentality. You know, we didn't want to go home that day, so we had to handle business, and that's what we did.
You know, we're definitely locked in for sure, especially going down 4-1. We didn't really see it as like put our heads down and give up, no, because like that's not this kind of team. So just after going down 4-1, I feel like we really locked in and that we really got serious about it.
What do you kind of see as the strength of this team? What do you think you guys do well and allowed you to guys get into the playoffs and into the area around now?
Really just to make the plays behind our good pitching, and then just keep swinging the bats, and I think that's key right there.
You've been on varsity a couple of years right now as a senior. Did you feel like you kind of had to step up from a leadership perspective, and was that an adjustment for you, and how do you feel that things have gone in that avenue?
I stepped into the shoes. It was easy stepping into the shoes because I got my boys behind me, so it's really simple from there.
And Nick, I hear you had kind of a different path to get into varsity throughout these 4 years here at Hebron. Just talk about your path and how gratifying it was for you to get the win in the third game there on Saturday.
Well, yeah, just being cut freshman and sophomore year is definitely like a setback, because after that sophomore year, I considered not even playing baseball, but some circumstances brought me on the team, and picking up the win on versus Keller was just like insane. All the emotions were just running through me at the time. Seeing my mom and everything, her supporting me, so it was an amazing feeling, but like definitely I don't want it to be the last one. Yeah. And so I'll keep moving forward.
Something you look back on though, and all the kind of the ups and downs you went through, all worth it to get that moment there?
Definitely. Just all of that was after that last out, all that just running through my head, and that just like all of that, I didn't realize it was worth it back then, but now that I sit here now, I feel like that like all that pain was worth it.
You guys mentioned not being done right now. What do you guys have to do this weekend to take care of business and try to get to the regional quarterfinals here?
Really just keep doing our thing, throwing strikes, making the plays, and swinging the bats. Really, that's it.
So you guys are out at DBU. What was it like playing just in a park like that? Have you guys ever played in a nice college or pro stadium like that? Or
yeah, DBU is one of the nicest fields around, so that was pretty special right there.
Yeah, we played a lot of turf fields, but that's a different kind of turf because the ball bounces a lot differently. It gives me more real feel on the turf field, so it was a really cool experience for a first round.
I'm guessing you'll be back on grass this week in Irving. I haven't been out there. Are those grass fields out there, I'm guessing?
All turf.
All turf?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So weather's not as big as an impact or anything like that?
No.
Do you guys feel like you guys are kind of playing with house money right now? Do you feel like no matter what happens, you guys feel pretty good about how this season's went? Or if you guys come up short, do you feel like you guys are kind of fell short of where you want to be?
Yeah, we just want to keep going right now. We're never going to be satisfied, so we're just going to keep going. So
yeah, I don't think we're just going to settle with going 2 rounds, and especially since our team's been like very underrated this year, and 2016 team went 3 rounds, so we definitely want to beat that and just keep on going further.
Then if you keep moving, you could have a chance to run into some of your other district foes or teams that you played in the playoffs or in the district last year and stuff too. So that's got to be exciting for you guys.
Yeah, and then next round, I believe if Flower Mound wins, then that's who we play next.
I'm sure you guys would be circling that one, but obviously business to attend to first. Anything else you guys want to mention?
No, sir. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Diego and Nick, thanks for joining us. And like I said, if you guys haven't got a chance to see the Hawks on the field, you can catch them in the series this week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Irving MacArthur, with the Saturday game, if necessary, out at Irving High. So, guys, thanks again for joining us on the podcast this week.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, a big thanks to Diego Johnson and Nick Wilson of Hebron High School as we wrap things up now with some 5A baseball talk. It was a good weekend for your teams, not so much for my District 9 5A Frisco ISD squads. One team left standing in Frisco, and it's Frisco Lone Star. Kind of a bit of a surprise there, looking at some of those teams in that district. But, Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD showing out in the first round. You have Lake Dallas and Lovejoy doing their thing in the first round. Guys, where do we want to begin? I think I want to talk about, our old Turner, Newman Smith action, making to the second round.
5A.
Imagine a playoffs where Arnold Turner's in the second round and Frisco Wakeland is not.
We talked about it. It was their first appearance in like 30 years.
Yeah.
So not only are they there, they're
So it's a podcast
making a little
first.
run.
We've never talked about Turner baseball winning a playoff series.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did. They finished tied for second with Newman Smith in 11-5A, and Newman Smith won a play-in game to get the second seed. So that means Turner settled for third. They get Dallas Adamson in the first round, and they took care of them 6-1 in the first game, and then 5-0 in the second game. So not only a sweep, but didn't look like they had to breathe too hard in the closing innings there. Game one, they had a couple dual performances from Garrett Chandler and Christopher Sternis. Chandler started. He threw his 3 innings. He gives up the run, but he also has a hit, a run, and an RBI. And then Christopher Sternis throws 4 shutout innings to finish it off, and he also does his thing at the plate, going 2 for 4 with a run and an RBI. So both those guys contribute in multiple ways to get the Lions off to a good start against Adamson, and then they finish them off in game 2, 5-0. Andres Valdez goes the distance for the complete game shutout with 5 strikeouts. Chandler does it again, 2 for 3. This time he has a homer, and Ryan Benet goes 3 for 3 with a double and an RBI. So as you mentioned, Turner not only in the playoffs, but they get their first playoff win in over 30 years, and they will move on to play Wiley East in the area round.
Wiley East, team that just knocked off Wakeland. Wakeland scored 1 run in that series. They got swept. They lost game 1 3-1, then lost game 2 2-0. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother even thinking, okay, I'm going to go cover one of those games, because I thought it would be the other way around. I thought Wakeland, the district champs, 16-2 in that long district. I thought they would take care of business, and the Wakeland bats just could not get anything going. In a 2-0 loss in one of the games, district MVP J.D. Gregson from last year, 0 for 3. It was just, I don't know. I mean,
it happens, man.
It does.
It happens.
It's playoff baseball. I mean, Darrell Preston, first-year head coach. I'm not sure, if this would happen if Barry Rose was there, but Darrell Preston did a great job this year, leading that team to a 16-2 district title. I guess Wiley East, we don't know. Maybe they're hot right now and they're just on a roll. And our old Turner, they have their hands full with the Pirates there. That was a bit of a shock. Now, Newman Smith.
So Newman Smith got the second seed, and that means they got Seagoville, and they just rolled Seagoville 21-1 in the first game and 10-5 in the game 2 to complete the sweep. So they took care of business. They come right out. They get 6 runs in the second inning and 10 runs in the third inning of their game 1 win. Christian Peralta goes 2 for 4 with a double, and then a big game for Jonathan Boyer. He has a double, 2 triples, and 6 RBIs. So big game at the plate for him, and the Trojans roll 21-1. Then they come back and get him 10-5 in game 2. Another nice game for Boyer, going 2 for 3, 3 runs and 2 RBIs. And then Reese Parrott puts up the same line, 2 for 3, 3 runs and 2 RBIs. They used 3 different pitchers to combine for the win there. So good win from Newman Smith, and now they'll draw McKinney North in the area round. So
That's a tough draw, man.
Yeah, a lot of crossovers between our teams here, but it should be some interesting second round matchups.
McKinney North looked good. I saw them play Heritage in game 2.
Yeah.
That game was 8-3, 7-2. Heritage got a run late in the 7th inning. Didn't really matter, but no. McKinney North looked good in that game. Their ace didn't even pitch in that game. It was their number 2, and he shut Heritage down. They beat Heritage in game 1 in 9 innings, 3-1. So big, kind of took all the way the momentum. A late Friday game going into, or late Thursday game going into Friday. McKinney North had all that momentum. They have some guys that can go. Cam Constantine, the UT commit, he'll be a guy to watch out for in that series for sure. Lake Dallas.
Yeah, man.
Last year,
Yep.
you know, they got, you know, taken out of the first round against Reedy.
Yeah.
Reedy got their first ever playoff series. And now here they are, you know.
I can actually talk about
You can
both
talk
those
about
teams,
both.
I guess.
Yeah. Good
Man,
little transition there.
I guess we can start there with, we can go over to the Reedy series with Lovejoy first if you want, because you're talking about a team that, you know, was able to save its ace kind of, and Lovejoy really has two aces. They have a 1A and a 1B, and Jordan Yoder and Jacob Terwilliger. And I don't think it was injury related, because Lovejoy, you know, you talk about that first game, how big momentum can be. They hang on for a 6-3 win. They get a 2+ inning save, I think 2 1/3 from Harrison Duro, and Jordan Yoder started that game and didn't have his best stuff, gave up 3 runs, but Lovejoy was able to hang in there, pull away a little bit with some insurance at the end. So they get the first game against Reedy 6-3. Then you go into game 2, and they don't start Terwilliger. They start Luke Stein, who goes all 7 innings, gives up a run, a hit. Reedy, you know, goes down 8-1 to Lovejoy, and Lovejoy rolls on to the second round. Like I said, I don't know if it's injury related. I don't think it is. I previewed this series and talked to head coach Jason Wilson. You know, obviously they keep some stuff under wraps, but he didn't intimate that there were going to be any issues. So maybe, you know, just game 2, see if you can get a win without having to throw him. Now he's fresh for, you know, big bad Highland Park. You know, which looking over this that region with Lovejoy and Highland Park, honestly, you know, the winner of that game has as good a shot as any team at just going all the way and winning the region, because it's, you know, you look at, you know, Dallas Wilson and Frisco Lone Star and Sulphur Springs and Joshua and Lindale and Corsicana. Not that these teams don't have anything.
No Frisco Wakeland too.
They're postseason teams. I mean, clearly they have something, but you have to look at this second round series between Highland Park and Lovejoy, which will be out at Globe Life Park Friday and Saturday. You have to look at that series as, you know, potential forecast of what could be coming down the road in that region. But yeah, Lovejoy cruises past Frisco Reedy. Good season for Frisco Reedy, but I think Lovejoy, you know, I've kind of talked all year on the podcast about them and how, you know, this run has kind of set them up for this season. You know, they have a ton of guys that have been together since their sophomore year. They're seniors now. So, you know, as far as they're concerned, this is the beginning of a pretty lengthy run, but got to go through the Scots, man. That's a tough draw. But, you know, kind of on the flip side, Lake Dallas, really good series. You know, I was out there for the first game. They got it in on Thursday. They were able to move it to John Paul, or on Friday, actually. And, you know, Lake Dallas, coming into the series, I had said that it was going to be about winning the game that Ryan Depperschmidt starts and then trying to get one of those other 2. And that's exactly what happened. Depperschmidt didn't have his best stuff in game number 1. Gave up 3 runs. I think he left with a 3-2 lead for Grapevine. And was eventually taken off the hook in a 10-4 win. Lake Dallas exploded in the 6th inning for 6 runs. And Cade McCullum came in and threw 2+ innings and pitched really well to get that game number 1 victory. And like I said, that was the key moment for Lake Dallas. You get that game number 1, you go into game number 2 with a little less pressure. You don't feel like you have to go out and win that game like Grapevine did. And Grapevine edges them, you know, 6-4. They start Ben Price, Lake Dallas does, who I would say is probably number 3 to Cade McCullum after Ryan Depperschmidt. But even he, you know, he only goes, I think it was managed pretty well, you know, because Ben Price goes 4.2. Hayden Payne comes in and cleans up that game. They end up losing, but then in game number 3, they win 5-0. They start Cade McCullum, who still had a ton of pitches after not going very far Thursday. And then Ben Price comes up and cleans up with 2 innings of his own. So, you know, Lake Dallas, like I said, the key to their run is going to be figuring out those arms in the games after Depperschmidt goes. You get number 1, hopefully, with Ryan Depperschmidt, and then you figure out the rest with some combination of Price, McCullum, some other guys, and they were able to do that and take down a good Grapevine team. That was a good baseball team and a good series, and now they draw Arlington Heights, who I don't know a ton about. 14-0, I believe, in their district to win that district. But, you know, you look at their district scores, they had a run where it was 13-0, 12-0, 10-0, 24-0, 14-1, 15-0, just in consecutive district series. So not a lot of competition, not a lot of pushback, it doesn't seem like, from a bunch of those Fort Worth schools.
Yeah.
So, and not a lot of people, or not a lot of teams, I should say, that I'm seeing kind of in their non-district schedule that were, you know, premier games. So, you know, certainly good and riding some momentum and making it to the second round. But I think, you know, Lake Dallas has just as good a shot as they do to advance. Should be another good series, and that one will be at Fort Worth Brewer, I believe, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll see. But yeah, Lake Dallas in the area around for the first time since 2016 and looking to make another little run.
Another team headed to the area round out of 8-5A, Little Elm. They sweep Fort Worth Brewer. Derek Lewis, man, this guy started game 1, complete game, shutout, 4 strikeouts, 5 hits. Just 86 pitches thrown.
Wow.
That's pretty efficient, right
well,
there.
especially when it shifts to the 110 pitches for the entire playoff series.
So they could have used him.
If you can save 25 pitches, hopefully that's an inning if you need him. So.
Well, game 2, Jorge Aldrete, their number 2.
Didn't need it.
They did not need it because in game 2 their starter goes 6 2/3, and then they throw in Logan Kohler right there at the end to kind of shut things down. The Oklahoma signee there. This Little Elm pitching staff. When you only need 1 out from a reliever in an entire series. That's a good sign there. And they're going to stay at Justin Northwest. They played their first round series there this past weekend. They'll be there again this weekend. They'll take on Burleson Centennial. Don't know too much about them. But interesting note about that 8-5A district. Denton High.
Yeah, out. Did you see the play they lost on?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, man, it was insane. It was a walk-off, I think, officially, but it was a play where it was hit up the middle, and they had a runner on second, I believe. Azel did, and it looked like he was going to score just on the base hit up the middle. But the Denton shortstop, who I alluded to, it wasn't Reese Parker. I think he was on the mound. But whoever was playing short, the kid I said was so good, gets over, makes an incredible play, and they catch the base runner in a pickle between third and home. And they eventually get the ball to Reese Parker, and he's standing in front of the plate, ready to apply the tag and send the game, into more innings or whatever the case would have been. The kid runs through the tag, drops the ball, does like some crazy barrel roll, touches home, game over. So Reese Parker's just standing there with the ball on the ground, and you could see just shock and awe on everybody. So yeah, the Denton Broncos, who 10-2, I think, in that district, and definitely wouldn't have been a candidate, I wouldn't think, to be bounced in the first round. But that's playoff baseball, man. Like you were saying earlier, Wakeland's gone. It happens to obviously to the best of them. So
yeah. So the only 2 teams left out of 8-5A are Lake Dallas and Little Elm Denton Ryan.
Yep.
They had to take on Colleyville Heritage.
Yeah. Good luck.
Ain't no one beating Colleyville Heritage in the first round. We talked about shocking upsets. Colleyville Heritage was not going to get upset in the first round. So, do y'all have any idea where y'all are going to be baseball-wise this weekend?
Yeah, I will be Friday. I'll be at that Lake Dallas series. Out of Brewer. Okay. So I'll be out there for Lake Dallas, Harrington Heights in a clinching game potentially for one or the other. Not sure, obviously, but we'll see how that goes. I'll be out there, and then whether or not I'll be out there Saturday at Globe Life, I don't know, but I'll have something online for sure about that Lovejoy Highland Park series. So that should be a good one.
Thursday, I'll make it out to Northwest, catch some Little Elm baseball action. I know you still have a ton of teams.
Not sure about baseball yet. No, I'm going to do the Colony softball on Friday out at Argyle. I'm not sure about Thursday and Saturday yet.
Colony softball, the greatest show on turf, huh?
This year they are.
Every year they are.
Well, now they're actually on turf, though.
Yeah. Okay, now physically, literally on turf. But yeah, that'll just about wrap it up for this 5A baseball section of the podcast. Let's actually wrap up the Monday edition podcast as a whole. Make sure to stay tuned later this week. We'll get into some of the other spring sports, golf, track, tennis, all on that docket. So we'll be talking all that as a lot of state tournaments are coming up later this month. So make sure to stay tuned for that later this week.